Hey guys, welcome. Doing another NBA recap. This is the third week now doing these NBA recaps of the NBA playoffs. It's been wild. This is Rencity, Rennie Riquet, host of Sports and Shorts of Sorts. Doing our weekly NBA recap. Loving it. Let's jump right to it. We had to wrap up some first round series from last episode, so let's jump to those right away. We had the Mavericks hosting the Clippers, the LA Clippers trying to extend that to a game seven while the Mavericks were looking to punch their ticket to the next round. Kawhi Leonard was still a no-go for the Clippers, dealing with that knee inflammation. James Harden, he struggled from the field, missing all 6 of his three-point attempts. Paul George, 2 for 10 from 3. He finished with 18. Norman Powell led the Clippers with scoring with 20 off the bench, but was that dynamic duo of the Mavericks. It was too much. Doncic, 28 points, 13 dimes, 12 boards. Kyrie, game high 30 points, looking amazing out there, also getting 6 boards, 4 dimes. It was exciting to watch them close out a series there, and wow, this record of Kyrie Irving right now, that Game 6 clinching win there for the Mavericks, he is 13-0 in elimination games. He is an assassin you want in your corner going into an elimination battle, so that Mavericks win over the Clippers that set up a matchup with the number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder in the next round. It was a good way to get a monkey off Luka's back, as he was 0-3 in the playoff series with the Clippers, losing 3 in the last 5 seasons. So it must feel good for him to get that win. But more disappointment for the Clippers. Again, Kawhi Leonard. Geez, one of his healthiest seasons in a long time, and he wasn't available when it mattered most. That's just crushing. I don't know if we'll ever see playoff Kawhi again. It's brutal. Now there's talk that Paul George has kind of turned down extension talk to stay with the Clippers and that he might jump in the free agency. So this could be the last we saw of the whole Paul George, Kawhi Leonard era. Not ideal. And once we get to the Thunder in a bit, you can see how that trade with the Thunder for Paul George going to the Clippers for the rights of some guy named, or for the rights of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who was just a young pup in his Clippers days, and we see what he's doing now with the Thunder. Still a young pup. But anyway, we'll go with the Cavaliers and Magic, the last round to get finished, or the last series from the first round to get finished. The Cavaliers, like I said, the Magic, the same night that the Mavericks advanced, the Cavaliers had a chance to advance too, but the Magic, they played lights out, forcing a game 7. It was huge. Banchero and Franz Wagner looked like the two-headed beast I was hyping up earlier in the season. Excuse me, before Banchero just became a one-headed beast, I guess, leading this team. And Suggs, he had 22 as well. That was massive. Game 6, it showed what this team could look like as going forward in the future. But you can't blame Donovan Mitchell for not closing that out. Man, he's been a beast, showing why he's one of the best scorers in the NBA, scoring 50 points, 4 boards, 4 dimes in the loss. Garland at 21, but no one else really showed up, and they shot 25% from 3. That's not going to help. So yeah, the young Magic forced a game 7 back in Cleveland, where the home team seemed to have won every game in this series. And game 7 in Cleveland was bumping. The Cavs were still without Jared Allen, who's been dealing with that rib contusion, which is damn near kept him out the entire playoffs. And the Magic had a big lead going in the second half. Things were looking good. The young and upcoming Magic were looking to win now, and the playoff test of Donovan Mitchell, I said, his 50 points in game 6. He started putting the team on his back in this game. The team was having a rough shooting night, and he started to get his team going. 39 points for him. The Cavs' three-point shooting was a lot better. Karis LeVert, huge off the bench. Isaac Okoro, Max Strus, Evan Mobley. They were all making big plays when called upon. And the Cavaliers' playoff experience was starting to show dividends in this game. Franz Wagner, oof. He's so big in game 6. He fell apart in game 7. 1 for 15 from the field. 0 for 5 from 3. Finishing 6 points on the night. Jalen Suggs, he was huge in game 6. He had 2 for 13 from the field. 10 points in game 7. Paulo Banchero, he became this team's one-headed beast earlier during the struggles. He did that. He put the team on his back in this game 7 as a 21-year-old. 38 points, 16 rebounds, literally doing it all at his young age. But like I said, the Cavs were too much. The Magic could not pull off that comeback after giving up a lead, and Cavaliers set up a juicy second-round date with the Celtics. And while the Magic, you got to chalk this up to a learning experience. Like I said, Paulo Banchero, 21 years old, first-time All-Star, huge numbers in a Game 7. And look out for the Franz Wagner Revenge Tour. You don't want to go out shooting that bad in a Game 7. I'm expecting him to play very well for Germany in this Summer Olympics in Paris this year, representing the FIBA World Cup champion Germany, who won this past summer. But what a first round. And that was the only Game 7 of the first round. So that led us to a lot of older dudes getting eliminated, setting up some younger stars to shine here. And we'll start out east like we've done in all of these recaps all season. Starting with the team with the best record in the NBA, the number 1 seeded Boston Celtics taking on the number 4 seeded Cleveland Cavaliers. Just mentioned the Cavs coming off that feisty Game 7 win over the Magic, with Jared Allen still out of the lineup dealing with that rib injury, while the Celtics had some rest and they were preparing to play an entire series without their big man, Kristaps Porzingis. You know, the old rest versus rust here, and the Celtics did not look rusty, not one bit. They came out shooting well, but so did the Cavs. But as the game went on, the Celtics started to inflict their will on the Cavaliers here. Jaylen Brown, huge night, 32 points, only missing 6 shots. Derek White continued his great shooting that he's done all postseason, 25 points. A quiet night for Jason Tatum, only getting 18 and 11 rebounds, but he didn't really need to score this much. Peyton Pritchard, 16 off the pine. Donovan Mitchell, again, big night for the Cavs, 33 points in a losing effort. He didn't get a lot of help from other Cavs, but yeah, it was tough for him, but a lot of Mobley's points, they came late in the game. Garland hit double figures as well as Okoro, but this game was already out of reach by that point. The Celtics hit 7 more threes than the Cavs, and they did it at a higher percentage, 39% to their 26, and they had 17 more rebounds, so easy Game 1 victory for the Celtics. Game 2 was still in Boston, and the first half was back and forth, as you expected in this series, and things were tied up at half. But going into the third quarter, the Cavs just punched the Celtics in the mouth, catching them off guard, outscoring by 20 in the third, or by 12 in the third, and setting the tone for the fourth, where they had outscored them by 12 again. This looked like the Cavaliers team we've seen all season. And the big thing to point out is, yes, Mitchell still led the Cavs in scoring with 29, but his assists were up. 8 assists, 7 boards. His teammates were looking great. Karis LeVert, 21 off the bench. Every other starter had double figures, too. Mobley, 21. Garland, 14. Strus and Okoro, 12. It's that depth that really sets them apart. And, Mitchell can drop 50 if needed. But when this Cavs team is really getting everyone involved, that's when they're really dangerous. And they've beaten Boston in the regular season. I expect this to be a tough series. And them being able to steal a game in Boston is huge. I mentioned how well Jaylen Brown and Derek White played in Game 1. Complete opposites Game 2. Both struggled from the field. Brown had some bad turnovers, making people call him a broken teacup with that damaged handle late in the game. Tatum had 25.7 boards and 6 dimes, but it wasn't a very efficient scoring night. Kind of reminded me of that ugly loss the Celtics had at home in the first round against the Heat. Heat were without Jimmy Buckets, though. If the Celtics leave the door open a little bit for Donovan Mitchell to bust in, this could be tough for the team I picked to win the championship before the playoffs started here, but not jumping ship yet. This should be a tough series, like I said. I don't expect anything different. Game 3 is going down tonight, Saturday, May 11th. Should be a tough game. Cavaliers are still trying to go on without their center, Jared Allen, and they've done well so far. And I see them continuing that. I see the Celtics playing better than they did in Game 2, but I see this one coming down to the wire. And if Mitchell's not scoring the go-ahead bucket, he's setting someone up for it. So I see the Cavs winning Game 3, taking a 2-1 series in this lead. Look for Karis LeVert to continue his great play off the bench and have a big night in front of the home crowd. But I'm not giving up on the Celtics team. Like I said, expect the Cavs to win tonight, go up 2-1 in the series, but I do still expect the Celtics to win this series, despite going down 2-1 tonight. But we'll see. The Pacers-Knicks, this is a second-round matchup. The Pacers and Knicks, bringing me back to my childhood, where I fell in love with the NBA. And these two teams, they've been living up to the hype. This has been an exciting one. Double checking my playoff preview, I did pick these two teams to meet in the second round, with the Knicks winning. So we'll see how that holds up. Game 1 definitely lived up to the hype. The Garden was bumping in New York, and these teams put on a show. Former Knick, Obi Toppin, putting a through-the-legs dunk on a fast break in a playoff game. Yeah, that happened. You heard that right. It was dope. It looked like the Pacers might steal the Game 1 on the road, but the Knicks did what the Knicks did all season, and that's just come up big in the clutch. Dante DiVincenzo putting the go-ahead shot. Then there was a tough call on Pacers. Miles Turner called for a moving screen. I thought it was brutal. A little bit of floppy flop on the play, but tough calls. They don't always go your way on the road, especially in the Garden. And it was tough for the Pacers. But regardless, the Knicks still have to make their shots and do their shit. And Jalen Brunson, 43 points, fourth straight game going over 40 in the playoffs, putting him in a group with names like Michael Jordan, Bernard King. They each did it 4 times. Jerry the Logo West, 6 in a row. It's not just Brunson, though. He's a closer and the guy who makes the tough shots over dudes always taller than him. But Josh Hart, the ultimate glue guy. And I've talked about it before, probably the best rebounding guard in the league for his size. Like, he got a career high 24 points, 13 rebounds, 8 dimes. I mentioned DiVincenzo's huge shot, 25 points for him on the night. Hartenstein and OG hitting big shots when called upon, but it's their defense that's been big. The younger Pacers had some guys get some good second round playoff experience for the first time, but they were in this game to the end. Miles Turner led the team with 23. Siakam made some big plays. Tyrese Halliburton really did not do a lot in the fourth quarter. He kind of disappeared. They'll need more out of him. TJ McConnell, huge spark off the bench, feisty for sure, but big win for the Knicks to hold on there, to come back late and take that one. Game 2 was just as wild in the Garden, but you get bad news for the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson, who missed most of this season with an ankle injury, re-injured that ankle in Game 1 and is probably out for the rest of the playoffs. A huge blow for a guy who adds a lot of depth to a kind of a thin front court right now. But the show must go on, and the Pacers bounced back from that tough loss and were looking great, taking a lead in the halftime. But they fell a little flat in the third quarter, and the Knicks found their groove there. One constant throughout was OG Anunoby. The former Raptor was killing it. 4 for 7 from threes. He was at 28 points, getting big steals, but he'd leave the game with a hamstring injury. You don't want to see that. Bigger scare was in the first half when Jalen Brunson went down. He'd leave the game, but he'd come back, kind of coinciding with that run they had. And the Pacers are like, "Are you serious? They got injuries, and we're still not taking this game?" But they were pushing. Halliburton really stepped up. 34 points, 9 dimes. The bench of the Pacers, Obi Toppin, 20 points. I mentioned TJ McConnell earlier. He had a double-double off the bench, 10 points, 12 dimes. Rookie Shepard had 11 off the bench. But the starters kind of fell off. Foul trouble took Miles Turner's out of the game. Not nearly as effective as he was in Game 1. Neesmith played some tough defense, but struggled on the offensive side. Siakam struggled from the field. Dante DiVincenzo really stepped up, 28 points. Josh Hart again, another big double-double, 19 points, 15 boards, 7 dimes, and might as well throw another former Raptor in here, Precious Achiuwa. When OG went down, he stepped up and made some big plays on both sides of the ball to help the Knicks secure the win, take the 2-0 series lead. Brunson missed out on extending that 40-game point streak, but it's more important to get the win, and they took the 2-0 lead into Indiana, where Game 3 would go down just yesterday. The Hoosier State was excited for some second-round hoops. The Knicks would be without OG, who I mentioned that hamstring injury. Precious Achiuwa would start. Jalen Brunson would play. That's big. The Pacers started the game great, and the Knicks would respond, and this game was close at half. But a third quarter, the Knicks looking pretty good. But in the fourth, the Pacers would turn it around and spark a comeback. And this game came down to the wire. This is playoff hoops you like. And with Mike Breen calling the game, he sounded like Cactus Jack with all the bang-bangs out there. Jalen Brunson, he had a huge 3, tying the game up. Bang! Knicks forced the ball out of Tyrese Halliburton shot. He shot a brick. They got the ball back. And the Knicks were like, he's not shooting again. They forced it out to Canadian Andrew Nembhard. He was bobbling a bit, step back, huge 3. Another bang! Mike Breen was getting banged out there. Only Nembhard's second basket of the night. He had just hit a layup like a minute prior, but huge home win for the Pacers to pull that out, keeping them undefeated at their home arena, and, making it 2-1 in the best-of-7 series, and that's huge. No team has ever come back from 3-0 to win a series. So Game 4, Sunday afternoon. This is going to be a doozy. I can't wait for that one. Those are our Eastern Conference matches. Let's head out west. And where we're starting with number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder hosting those number 5 seeded Dallas Mavericks. Another series that I figured would be a second round matchup. And this one should be fun. The Thunder, youngest team to ever win a playoff series. Youngest team to ever win a conference. They got their work cut out for them, though, taking on that dynamic duo, the studs of Luka and Kyrie. In the first quarter, the Thunder looked to be getting caught up in the moment a bit. Like, that comes with this youngest team moniker. But in the second quarter, they started to get comfortable, started to look like themselves. And Once they did that, they never looked back. They withstood runs by the Mavericks and held on. MVP snub Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 29 points, 9 boards, 9 dimes, leading the way, while rookie Chet Holmgren, 19 points. J-Dub, Jalen Williams, 18. Aaron Wiggins off the bench was big with 16. Another Jalen Williams. This one, Jay Will from Arkansas, 11 off the bench, almost getting a double-double. Big collective team win for the Thunder in front of a raucous home crowd. The Mavericks just kind of looked flat. Luka struggled from the field, 1 for 8 from downtown. The NBA's leading scorer only had 19 points in the loss. Kyrie led the team with 20, but like I said, overall it was just a flat performance from the Mavericks, but that's kind of what to expect out of Jason Kidd's teams in the playoffs. Interestingly enough, the head coach is now 0-5 in Game 1 of playoff series throughout his career. That's a weird one. I don't know why, but it's real. The numbers don't lie. Game 2, go down in OKC again, and this was a little more competitive. The Mavericks came out with a little more fire, all starting with leader Luka Doncic. His passing, his shooting, everything looked much crisper. He went 1 from 8 for threes in Game 1. Try 5 for 8 in Game 2. 29 points, 10 boards, 7 dimes. Very instrumental in this Mavericks team taking this game. It was a duel throughout, with the Mavericks going ahead, Thunder trying to come back, but these Mavericks weathered the storm and handled the Thunder pretty well. Kyrie Irving only had 9 points. You're like, what? But he was doing it all, both sides of the floor, making big plays, getting his team involved with 11 dimes. PJ Washington, so happy to be out of Charlotte, doing it in the playoffs with Dallas here. 29 points, 11 boards, 7 from 11 from downtown. SGA led the Thunder, 33 points, 12 boards, and 8 dimes. J-Dub, Jalen Williams, 20 points to help in scoring, but Chet Holmgren looked like he hit a rookie wall in this game. And where in the world is Josh Giddey? The usual reliable guard over the past few seasons has had a reduced role in OKC over the past bit, and he's almost gone missing. We got to start looking for him on milk cartons here. Coach of the Year, Mark Daigneault, was choosing to go with Aaron Wiggins in the second half over Giddey. I don't know if he's just fallen in the pecking order, if he's dealing with an injury, but I think for this Thunder team to beat the Mavs, he's going to have to step up. He's getting outplayed by fellow Australian guard Dante Exum on the other side, who isn't even playing that well. So that's just showing you what Giddey's doing. What's going on here? Game 3 is going down this afternoon. Shit, it might be going on while you're listening to this. Check the guide. Nope, not on yet. Okay. But the Mavericks are playing very well at home, and this should be a highly competitive game. I imagine Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going off. He's going to get 40 maybe. But that duo on the Mavs roster, shit, Luka or Kyrie, flip your coin. One of them's going for 40 tonight, I think. Regardless, I see the Mavs taking a 2-1 lead over the Thunder tonight. I have the Mavs winning this series. It could be going 7, but I do have the Mavs winning this afternoon. Timberwolves and Nuggets. This is the other big matchup. Like the Thunder, these Northwest battles have been going on all season, trying to get those top 3 spots in the West. Timberwolves are number 3. Nuggets are number 2. But like I said, they were playing musical chairs atop this division on who gets that seed. And Game 1 went down in the Mile High City, where both teams were kind of feeling each other out, struggling to find baskets early, but in the second half, the Wolves really seemed to catch their breath in the high altitude. Anthony Edwards put the team on his young shoulders, finishing with 43 points, chatting shit the whole time like he does. This guy's a real deal. Baby MJ, I can see it. I really want an Anthony Edwards jersey. I think that's the next one I might. Him or Shai Gilgeous. I do want a Shai Gilgeous. I think he might be next, but Anthony Edwards, they're neck and neck here. But anyway, Nikola Jokic, he put up MVP numbers as he should, since he was awarded the MVP trophy for the 3rd time in his career, joining a very elusive club. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he's got 6. That's the most ever. MJ at 5. Bill Russell tied with him at 5. You got LeBron and Wilt, both at 4. And now you have Bird, Magic, Moses Malone, Nikola Jokic. It's pretty damn good company. And Jokic had 32 points, 9 dimes, 6 boards, but that shooting percentage was down. Combine that with a very lackluster night by Jamal Murray. Wolves came in and stole Game 1. Big props to the Wolves defense, who they were number 1 all season, but we got to see it really on show there. Game 2, again going down in Denver, and the Timberwolves were without newly named Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. his wife had just given birth to their child, and he was going to stay home to be with the child, as a good father should, unless you're Gilbert Arenas saying, hey, the baby will be there when I get home. It just, that really spiraled, but hey, everyone's got their opinion. But anyway, he missed the game to be with his child, but winning Defensive Player of the Year here, he joined some elite company, joining Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace for the most career Defensive Player of the Year awards with 4. Just crazy that he's in that kind of category with them. And without him, I thought my boy here, I wore his jersey, Rudy Wembanyama, would win it. Rudy did win Victor Wembanyama did win Rookie of the Year. He won that trophy. I thought that was a shoe-in, but I thought there was a chance. Like, all season I was thinking Gobert would get it, but then just more highlights of Wemby. I'm like, you know what? Maybe he can win this and win Defensive Player of the Year, becoming the first rookie to ever do so. But hey, he missed out on history. Congrats to Gobert. Congrats to Wemby on his trophies. France looking pretty good right there. But anyway, back to the game here. There was no Rudy Gobert in this game. How were the Wolves going to come out without their Defensive Player of the Year? They came out with the ferocity that lives up to a Timberwolf name. They were hounding Jamal Murray. He was looking frustrating. One of the worst playoff games of his career. 3 for 18 from the field. 8 points. He had 13 rebounds, but only 2 dimes, so he wasn't getting anyone involved. He was visibly frustrated. At one point from the bench, he threw a heat pack on the court, not liking the calls. That could have been dangerous if someone slipped on it or something, and that ended up costing Jamal Murray $100,000 via a fine. But this game was brutal if you were a Nuggets fan. MVP Jokic, here's your trophy. What are you going to do? 16 points, 16 boards, 8 assists. Not MVP-like numbers. And on a night where he didn't even have to deal with the Defensive Player of the Year being on the floor. He was at home watching the game, and this is the type of night they played. Edwards efficiently going for 27.7 dimes. Karl Anthony Towns, the Cat Man, 27 points with his 12 boards. Shout out to 6th Man of the Year, Naz Reid, Canadian, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels. I cannot emphasize enough of how much their defensive energy led to all this. A 26-point road victory in Game 2. Sending the series back to Minnesota with the Wolves winning both games in Denver. Not stealing one, stealing both games. Well, the second wasn't a steal. That was a straight robbery in their own house. So Game 3 was huge. The Wolves had a chance to take a real stranglehold on this series. And I mentioned it earlier. No team has ever come back from 0-3 in a series and won it. So the Wolves knew the Nuggets would be coming back from their lackluster game, and these champions they had their backs against the wall, and they acted like a wounded animal that was cornered. They came out and punched these Wolves in the jaw. Jamal Murray, like MJ in The Last Dance, he took that last game personally, and he responded in Game 3, shooting much better, getting his teammates involved. 24 points on the night. Nuggets took a double-digit lead in the halftime and never looked back, humbling the Wolves in front of their home team, or their home crowd, sorry. An effort we all expected from the Nuggets. Jokic, 24 points, 14 boards, 9 dimes. But how about Aaron Gordon? He's the real difference maker, where he gets those lobs from Jokic, those alley-oops, and he plays strong defense. But when he's shooting 3 for 4 from downtown, that is a huge difference maker. All the Nuggets starters reached double figures. It was a real team victory. Edwards led the way for the Wolves with 19. Cat only had 14, and the bench was pretty non-existent. Edwards, already a leader, put that loss on him, and I'm expecting him to go at least for 35 in Game 4. And the Wolves need to be careful here. They have them right where they have the Nuggets right where they want them, and they can send this back to Denver with a 3-1 lead. But if they let the Nuggets take Game 4 Sunday night, this will all be tied up going back to Denver, essentially becoming a best-of-3 series, and I'm looking forward to this Game 4. I did pick the Nuggets to advance to the Western Conference Finals, so I have them winning Game 4 on the road and ultimately winning the series. But this Game 4, it's going to be a doozy. That's the recaps of the playoffs, though. So filling out on kind of what we broke down, pivotal Game 3s today. The Mavericks, I have them going up 2-1 in the series over the Thunder. I have the Cavaliers going up 2-1 in their game today. On Sunday, I have the Knicks beating Indy to send it back to MSG with the Knicks up 3-1. And just as I just mentioned, I have the Nuggets equalizing their series with the Wolves and sending it back to the Rockies tied up at 2. And just in case any series conclude before next week's episodes, I have the Celtics ultimately winning their series against the Cavs despite their loss I'm predicting today. I have the Knicks ending their series with the Indy in 5 back in the Garden. I have the Mavericks winning Game 3 at home and clinching the series at 6. And I have the Nuggets winning Game 4 and winning their series in 7. So we'll see how that plays out. Quick trophy recaps, like I mentioned throughout the episode. Spurs, my boy Victor Wembanyama winning Rookie of the Year. Fellow countryman Rudy Gobert won his 4th Defensive Player of the Year. And Denver's Nikola Jokic taking home that 3rd MVP on his career. Also, some coaching news. Phoenix Suns, Frank Vogel, gave him a huge contract after they got rid of Monty Williams. However, that only lasted 1 year into that 5-year deal. He was fired from the Suns 11 days after getting swept by the Timberwolves in the first round. It's a pretty rough go for Vogel. The defensive-minded coach struggled to get his offensive team to play on the other end of the floor. Combine that with a retooled roster, injuries on said roster, lack of a bench. This team that had hefty expectations came up wimpy, and it did not take long for the Suns to replace him. They hired former Bucks coach and the coach who beat the Suns in the NBA Finals not that long ago, Mike Budenholzer. Coach Bud signed a 5-year, $50 million deal with some incentives, and the 2-time Coach of the Year does have a lot on his resume, including that title I mentioned, and he's been a good coach in the NBA for a long time. So we'll see if Coach Bud can get back to the finals with the Suns team, or if he even finishes out this 5-year deal. We know Vogel didn't. Charlotte Hornets, they have their new coach. He's a little busy right now. Charles Lee, he's a current assistant coach for the Boston Celtics. He's finishing out the year trying to help the Celtics win a championship. I imagine he's trying to get this title and, come in with the Hornets next season on a road game and pick up his new ring, which would be cool. 39 years old. This is his first NBA head coaching gig, and he comes under the coaching tree of a guy I just mentioned, Mike Budenholzer. He's coached under him. Should be a great move for him. The Hornets are looking to have a big upcoming season with some young pieces they have. It ultimately comes down to how LaMelo Ball's ankle is, but we'll see what happens there. And the biggest, maybe not most coveted job on the market is the head coaching gig of the LA Lakers. Darvin Ham was dismissed like minutes after last week's episode air, and there's been plenty of talk who'll take over, possibly LeBron James' podcast partner JJ Redick, but there's lots of uncertainty at this point, and I'm not sure who'll be taking that gig. It's kind of tough coaching LeBron, you're either thriving or you're getting undermined, it seems. I don't know. It's a tough gig. And speaking of tough gigs, the Washington Wizards job is still up for grabs. That could be a tough one to get filled. They just kind of see what direction they're going with. Kyle Kuzma and Denny Avdia had good seasons, but the Jordan Poole thing hasn't looked too good so far. But it's an NBA job. There's only 30 of them. Someone's going to scoop it up. And that's the NBA recap in the books. This is 3 weeks into the playoffs, guys. We're doing it. Second round matches are juicy. Like I said, Knicks Pacers, that one's been fun. This Wolves Nuggets, I feel, is just getting started. Celtics Cavs, very big game 3. I'm looking forward to see who takes that one out there. So this is lots of good stuff. And the Mavs Thunder, I don't know. I still think the Mavs will win that game 3, but look out for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I love how one of the best players in the NBA right now is just from Ontario. It's awesome. But thanks again for coming out. Each team has won in the second round, so if you have any brooms, throw them out, maybe save them for later. But this is awesome. We'll see how my predictions hold up. We'll see if you guys keep enjoying the games. I'm loving it. If you want more sports, like footy's getting crazy this weekend, NHL playoffs, you want all that jazz and more, hop to the YouTube page. Check out my regular podcast, Sports and Shorts of Sorts. My name's Rencity. Hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks again for coming out.